Hi, this is Derek Murphy from creativity.com. I'm going to talk a little bit about book cover design today because I get a lot of questions. People will email me and they'll say, I think I need a new cover, because I talk a lot about how important the cover is and why you need a good book cover to sell your book. But sometimes your book cover isn't the problem. And recently, a few people have emailed me and they've asked if I can give them a look, give their book a look on Amazon and see what I think of it and see why it's not selling. And they're ready to pay me a lot of money to make them a book cover design that'll sell their book. But in those cases, the book cover isn't really the problem. And I can tell because what's happening is not selling at all. It's down like in a 2,500,000 range, which means nobody is ever seeing their Amazon page anyway at all. If nobody's seeing your book page, the book cover doesn't matter because it's not being seen. So that's not the thing that's influencing the purchase decision. The thing that's the reason the book isn't selling is just it's not being found, which means there's no marketing. You're not bringing your own traffic. You're not doing any advertising or promotion. If there's no traffic at all to your sales page, you can't really tell if the book cover is good enough or not. And so in some cases I could say, and I'll say, yes, your book cover is not very good, but that's not your problem because right now you're not getting any traffic. In other cases, I'll say the book cover is probably enough. It's not that bad because really it just has to be good enough to get them to read the book description and the reviews. If it's not good enough to even get them to read the description, then you're losing a lot of sales. But if it's just good enough to catch their interest and it's got a good title and it's got the right sales copy, then it's fine. But first you got to find out if your book cover is the problem. And here's some easy ways you can check to see if the book cover is your problem or if you have other marketing problems. First thing, you've got to do some advertising or promotion. You can get away with free stuff if you, for example, you post your book cover on, there's a bunch of Facebook pages for free or cheap 99-cent book promotion campaigns. You can put it on Reddit, you can put it on LinkedIn. You can ask for feedback, but asking for feedback for your book cover doesn't usually work because the people who will give you feedback aren't really book cover design experts. And so they'll give you their personal opinions, but that doesn't really translate well in terms of what it's actually going to do when it's on Amazon. You're finding real people who are interested in the topic or the genre, but the book cover just isn't convincing them. Also, it's not going to work if you're giving them 3 or 4 choices, but the choices aren't very good. If you say, what do you think of these book covers, they'll give you feedback on those. Maybe you need something much better than what you've got. But what you've got to do is you've got to advertise and promote, and you've got to do 2 things. You can first try putting text-only stuff. So say there's a free book, there's a cheap book on Kindle, it's on sale today. Just use text and a description of the book and the title so that you're getting in front of people who might be interested in those topics. And based on the strength of the text, they'll click. If the text is good enough, they'll click and they'll go to your Amazon page. The other thing to do is add only your cover with not very much text and to see if they're still clicking. So you've got, if you have ads or promotion that's just the book cover, if people are clicking those ads, then the book cover is good enough because the book cover is working to get the clicks. Sale. Your book cover is good enough, but you don't have enough reviews, or you don't have enough sales, the sales copy isn't good enough to sell the book. Maybe the description isn't very good, or no reviews is really a killer. So if that's your problem, if you've only got 1 or 2 reviews, nothing you're doing is going to work. Your book cover doesn't matter if you only have a couple of reviews because people still aren't going to take the risk on buying a book that isn't reviewed well. So you need to focus on getting more reviews first. Then you need to focus on, is your book cover good enough? Does it get the clicks? And you can do that by advertising on Facebook or on Google or on blog ads is really good because you can put your book cover on specific, very targeted traffic. But Facebook ads are really good too for just putting information right in front of very targeted readers, like people who like similar authors or people who like the genre specifically. So you can do that and see if you're getting the clicks from people who are seeing your book cover. If not, your book cover isn't good enough. So that's the problem, and you need a better book cover. If you're getting the clicks on those text ads, if you try even Google Ads and you're using text only, you're getting the clicks for the text because your title and your subtitle, your description is good, your tagline is good, but then they get to your Amazon page and you're not seeing the sales, if you have enough reviews and you think your sales description is fine, then it's your book cover. So your description, your title, it's all fine, but when they're seeing the cover for the first time, that's when you're losing the sale. That means your cover isn't good enough. So that's kind of a way you can create kind of a split test with two balanced funnels to see whether or not your cover is strong enough to get them to go to the next step. So I would start by just advertising the cover. And if you're not getting clicks, if it's targeted traffic, you're putting it in front of the right people and nobody's clicking, then you have a cover problem and you need a new cover. If you're just using text and people are clicking, but they're getting to your Amazon page or your website, it's different if you drive people to your website, because there's a lot of reasons why your website might mess everything up. If your website is ugly or distracting, there's a lot of other things that can go wrong. But if you're sending people directly to your Amazon page, there's only a few things that can go wrong. It's your book cover or your sales description or the reviews. So if your reviews and the sales description are good enough and people are clicking on your links, or you know how much traffic you're sending, and you've really got to keep track. You can use Bitly for short links, and there's a few other websites you can use to keep track of the links you're using, because you really want to know how many people are clicking and how many people are getting to your Amazon page or sales page. If you can keep track of that, then you can know what's your conversion rate, how many people have clicked your website and how many you're losing. You should be able to keep 10% of what you're doing. So if you're driving people from your blog or from articles, 10% is something reasonable to shoot for. If you're driving 100 people a day and 10% of them buy your book, that's fine. If you're paying for advertising, you're paying per click, then you're going to want that conversion to be much higher, because if you sell a book for, maybe you get $1 profit and it's costing you 50 cents each click, then you need at least 2 out of 10. Is that right? No, you need more than that. But you need to keep track of how much you're spending and how many people are clicking or buying the book to make sure you're breaking even. As long as you can figure out advertising so that you're selling enough to cover the cost of your advertising, then just keep advertising and spending more money. It doesn't matter so much if you're making sales, because if you can advertise a couple $100s a month and make that much money back, then you can just put that on autopilot and you're getting visibility and promotion, because even the people who aren't buying your book, they're being exposed to your ad. So maybe they see your advertisement 100 times before they buy the book. And you're not paying for those free views because you're only paying for clicks, for the people who actually click on your advertisement. So you can keep doing that. It doesn't mean, even if you're breaking even, you're actually getting a lot more than the earnings you're getting back from the buys, because you're getting a lot of free promotion and visibility. Anyway, so it's not necessarily your book cover. Your book cover matters, but there's other things to consider as well. Before you spend a lot of money on a new book cover, you've got to make sure your book is visible, you have reviews already, and that your conversion is right, so that when you're sending people, the right people, to your landing page or your website, that you're making sales. If everything is going right except your book cover, then yes, a new book cover will really make a big difference. But it's not the first thing, and you need to do some testing before you invest a lot of money in it. Okay, thanks. This is Derek Murphy from creativeindia.com, and you can find out a lot more about book cover design or publishing or creative empire building on my website. And I have a lot of other videos that you might be able to learn something from, so check those out as well.